Yeah, here we go.
I'll take a couple of minutes before it's up live anyway, David.
Oh, here we are. Right, volume down. Right. Okay, waiting on them coming through the door.
Aye, same here.
Yeah.
We've got 6 people watching. Good afternoon, Martin. Good afternoon, Mr. E. Good afternoon, Stuart.
Nancy MacGyver. Hello,
Aye,
Nancy. Tommy Gourley, Kirsty Falls. Hi, guys.
look, Warren now. Hi, Wolfpet. Hi, Robert. Hi, Chris.
Watching us on Facebook.
Hi, Sandra. Hi, Margaret. Hi, Fiona.
Neil, Sheila Kirk, Robert Gallagher, Alexander Thompson,
Hi, Neil.
James Thompson, Joe Callahan, Melanie McCain, Lynn Robertson, Joe Callahan again, sorry, Robert Gallagher again, Liz Shields, Elizabeth Camper Brown, Stephen McNeil, Tina Chalmers, Lynn Robertson.
Robert Hugh.
Hi guys. Mark Rowntree.
Hi, Mark. Jim Alistair.
Do you start, Mark, Mr. Rowntree, do you still own the Fruit Pastels Corporation?
No, it was sold.
Was it sold? All right, okay. It's a very specific surname, isn't it? It's not a surname that you hear a lot of, Rowntree, right?
Hi, Gingers. Hi, Andy Scott.
Margaret
Ryan. Hi, Ryan.
Buchan, Rita Lynn Holderman, Bob Robertson, Julie Gagan, Melanie McCain. We're racking up a load of people on Facebook.
Hi.
Or whatever they're called this week.
Yeah. Hi, Class Action. Apparently somebody likes your t-shirt, David. I'm just wearing a Works t-shirt today.
I'm the wrong way around. I actually set it up on the computer prior to this, and I wiggled it back the way because I wore a t-shirt beforehand that was the Two Davies, and I wanted that the right way around. But it meant every time I pointed, it was going the wrong way. See, I point at David now, and I know that that's right because that's the way it is, right? But I was doing it the other way. When I point that way, I'd actually point that way, which is wrong for me. Right, Dave McGrath, Sheila Kirk. I hope I've got everybody on Facebook.
Hi, Desiree. Hi, Dodger.
Robert
Ali.
Donald.
You're going to make half the shows. You've got to go to work, Ali. That's the way it is. You're going to be at watch 11. I've seen that post on Facebook. Actually, Ali.
What's the total we've got online now, David?
Oh, we're at the 100 mark. We can get started, David. So let's get that underway. We've got an awful lot to get through today.
Yep, go.
Right. So subject number 1 is Starmer the Dictator. Wow.
Yeah.
Have you seen the behaviour of that spanner?
Oh man, it's unbelievable what Starmer is doing within his own party. It's just crazy.
Wow.
Absolutely crazy.
He is interfering in the selection of council leaders.
Yeah.
Where normally the elected councils will get together, select their own leaders. He's appointing them.
Yeah. And
but very importantly, because of the boundary changes,
yes.
Obviously, you've got to. Normally, the parliamentary constituency parties, or a constituency Labour Party, they call them, they would select the candidates to be MPs.
Yeah.
Mr. Starmer is appointing candidates.
Yes.
They're no good. The constituency Labour Party's candidates are just no. If they're no one a Starmer, if they're not a Starmerite, they're just no getting it. His behaviour is absolutely dictatorial. And the Copeland, constituency Labour Party executive resigned en masse earlier this week because Starmer wanted to parachute one of his buddies in there.
Now, had that particular member that they were favouring to go in and be selected, being Jewish by faith, Starmer would have been bounced all over the cobbles outside the House of Commons, right? but it does look extremely racist in what he's done in that situation, because the person that was being selected by the local team was Asian, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, he's a Muslim guy, very popular in the area apparently. Joseph, I don't know how to pronounce his second name, but I'm going to have a go. Gayaba.
The problem is that you cannot say that Starmer is being particularly racist, because he could actually stump up half a dozen reasons why he'd actually done such a thing, right?
No, actually, the way he's looking to left-wing activists, I mean, look at the treatment of Diane Abbott.
That's right. Yes, I know
I mean,
that.
and there was a poll released yesterday suggesting that Labour are making a bit of a comeback here in Scotland. So we have to make it clear to the people here in Scotland, if you're thinking about voting Labour, you're talking about wasting a vote. He's already made it publicly clear he's not going to change the fiscal policy down that road, so austerity stays.
Yeah.
He's not going to repeal the Public Order Act, so banning and protest stays. He's not going to overturn the Anti-Strike Act, so and we'll get a wee bit more on the Anti-Strike Act as we get further through the programme.
I assure you, David, the largely non-politically minded Scottish people won't have a clue about the anti-strike law affecting them.
No, because they don't know that the Labour Party abstained in a vote that the Lords had put in an amendment, but they hadn't used the wee trickery bit that the Lords have, where hereditary members could put in an amendment, and if X amount of them agree with that amendment cross-party, then the Commons can't kick it out.
Yeah.
One of the arcane things they have down there.
Yeah.
But they didn't use that particular power to put this amendment in. So the Labour Party abstained and helped the Tories drive through the anti-strike laws in Scotland and Wales. We thought it was going to be protected.
Can I just add in a wee bit something that people might not remember? On the run-up to the 2014 referendum, if you remember, the big thing was about fracking, right? And we were talking about, it's all right, the Scottish government have got the power to stop fracking, right? So what happened in the year 2014, when we're on the last few months run up to a referendum on it, Scottish independence, the House of Lords got together and voted the power to control fracking in particular away from the Scottish government, and meant the Scottish government had to start playing with the planning laws.
What the stupid buggers never did was take away planning powers.
Correct. But what they did was then they went for a nice champagne dinner after that and all chuckled about what they'd done, right? So the House of Lords is not your friend.
And more importantly, the Labour Party is not your friend.
Yeah.
You would have thought the Labour Party, having been born in Scotland, would have had a look at these anti-strike laws and went, no, we're going to repeal them, but in the meantime, we're going to vote against them for anti-action in Scotland and Wales. But that's not what they did.
Yeah, I know.
So when you get right down to it, this Labour Party isn't proposing anything of any social benefit to any of the people of Scotland or the rest of the UK. Starmer is Rishi Sunak with a red rosette.
If you are a Labour voter and you eventually see this eventually gets put under your nose by somebody, I ask the simple question: if you live in Scotland, why on earth are you still considering voting for such an obtuse party with an obtuse leader?
I mean, if you don't believe what we're saying about Starmer, and believe me, I've done my homework on this one, have a look at Care Now Demo on YouTube. Have a look at Owen Jones on YouTube. Have a look at Novara Media on YouTube. Have a look at Double Down News on YouTube. These are all left of centre news outlets or people.
Please don't forget to have a wee look at Al Jazeera's documentary on the Labour Party. Wow.
That boy your hair off, the Labour Files. But Starmer is a Tory, and if you're here in Scotland, you're thinking about voting for Starmer, then you're voting for the Tories.
Yep.
We are red rosé. But let's move on. So Starmer is basically running the Labour Party like a wee fiefdom, and he's a tin pot dictator. Right, let's move on. Braverman escapes a punishment for breaking ministerial code. Sunak bottled it.
Yeah. But we said he would. He is a weak leader. You look at all the decisions that Sunak has made, he has made from a position of weakness.
Aye.
And even down, there are a great many thoughts as to why Sunak is just rolling over and sticking with it, right? Even at the point of where his wife knocked back the non-dom status for herself, costing her and the family millions of pounds to keep that wee twat in his seat in number 10. And you've got to say to yourself, wait a minute, why?
Well,
they'll gain 150, 160 grand for him being Prime Minister, but they'll lose millions on losing the non-dom status. What's the backstory here?
The backstory is that her father's company has actually picked up 176 million quid's worth of UK government contracts. It's bloody insider trading.
I wasn't asking you to answer that. I was wanting them to think about it.
Listen, we're talking to each other here. I know the comments are there, but we're talking to each other here, so I'm going to answer the question when you ask it. But anyway, he decides not to get what's his face, Laurie. I can't mind now. The latest ethics bloody minister he's got, ethics advisor he's got. He's decided not to ask him to look into it.
You don't change that often. You can't keep up with the bloody names, can you?
I've got it wrote down, but I can't be bothered looking down. So his ethics advisor is not going to take a look at this. The fact that Miss Braverman tried to use the civil service for a private matter will not be taken into consideration, and she certainly won't be resigning. But I don't know how long this woman can stick it out.
I think the Tories in general and Sunak in particular are at the position at the state where the people that are going to vote for us are going to vote for us. The Southern voters are not, so they know fine well the goose is cooked. Yeah. However, if we keep on hearing about what Mr. Starmer is doing, then I don't think people are going to vote for him in the way he hopes.
No, a hung parliament's definitely coming, Dave.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
A hung parliament's coming. Sunak and that mob of right-wing nutters are pandering to the loony bins down that road, and there'll be enough of them. There'll be enough of them to have a hung parliament. And of course, people are looking at Starmer down that road seriously, especially those on the left. They're looking at Starmer going like, he isn't off of nothing. He's done a turn on 9 of his 10 pledges to win the Labour Party leadership, and he's just another bloody Tory.
I have noticed also that I've noticed that the Tories also have started to fire shots at the Lib Dems, right? And to be honest with you, that's a very good thing for them to do, as far as we're concerned. I can see our Mr. Flynn being in a position where he can give Labour, Mr. Starmer, a little smile. Hello, how you doing, Mr. Starmer? We're here.
Anyway, see, Sunak just doesn't get the balls to deal with anybody. And of course, Braverman being the top honcho on the right-hand side down there, you tell me.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, sorry, you were about to say, David. I'll let you tell it like it was. She was who? What position did she have?
Chairperson of the ELG, I think it was.
That's right. You have to wiki. Please wiki Suella Braverman. You'll also find out what her pre-married name was, right? I won't spoil it for you, but there's a rather nice little article going about on Facebook this morning, reference her woman screwing around with student elections on the student union and all the rest of it, right? Where she was in the Conservative club for her particular Fernandez. That's it, Zira. Well done. and she was actually screwing with elections that were going on. So Suella Braverman has got tickets all the way down her arm, right? Seriously.
But as I say, she's wriggled out again. I mean, she'd only just been sacked for breaching the ministerial code when Sunak appointed her.
Sunak would never take her on, though. Actually, she got too much, but I think she knows too much about certain people. That's
basically how it goes, Right. On to the next one. Did you see PMQs yesterday?
I watched PMQs this morning, right? But I was trying to do other things while I was doing it. It was rather interesting. I saw the wee fella that you were about that got told, hey, bugger off.
Aye, Mr. Bristol.
That was quite funny, you know.
Lindsay Hoyle actually uses the power he has in that chair for a change. And it's no against an SNP member for a change.
Had it been the previous speaker, right, he would never have got to like 2 or 3 times. He'd have been told, marching orders, go have a cup of coffee. You know, that's it.
I mean, what interested me about Prime Ministers yesterday was Rishi Sunak ripping the piss out the public, in public.
Yeah.
I mean, his reply on the Suella Braverman question for Starmer was absolutely outrageous.
Yeah.
And the boasting about stripping away our civil liberties in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers was phenomenal. His reply to Sunak was, we are clamping down on a disruptive protest. We are clamping down on disruptive strike action. And we are stopping wee votes.
Yeah.
So, he's boasting about banning our basic right to protest, our basic right to gather, or those of the people in England in this case, actually.
But the problem is, Starmer would agree with him.
Aye.
You know, so it was an easy thing for him to do because he knew fine well that opposition wasn't going to come back on him.
I was more worried about how wise it was for him to be boasting about stripping people of their civil liberties and the so-called mother of democracies.
We don't give a shit now, do we?
No, it's bloody outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean, he's talking. And as you say, Starmer's already stated he won't repeal the Public Order Act. He won't repeal the Police Crimes Court and Sentence Act down that road, which outlawed noisy protest.
Yeah.
And seeing Steve Bray got all his equipment nicked, and for those who don't know who Steve Bray is, he's a pro-EU protester who's been bamming up the ERG outside the Commons for years.
He's the guy who's banging the big bass drum all the time.
Aye.
Yeah, right.
So
you hear conversations going in front of you, and you hear this constant bum, 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 back, you know, so. Yeah.
So they took his drum, they took his PA system, and they keep lifting him every time he shows up.
Yeah.
For noisy protest. He's got to court about it.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Is it possible that, like we saw with people with bits of paper saying "Not my king," right, where those people didn't end up getting fined, the particular thing was thrown out before it could get any further, right? Is it possible that it'll just go away, you know, and it'll be the inconvenience that is now going to be caused to protesters in the future? You're not actually going to get fined or locked up in jail, but what will happen is you'll have a lot of palaver going on before that anyway. Yeah, you'll have to attend court and all the rest of it, right? And that'll be the real bite, if you like.
Here's the kicker, the Public Order Act. It's now an offence in England to think about putting on a protest if it's a protest they think will disrupt. So we now have thought crime in England.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, it's wow.
It's going to happen here.
Of course it's going to happen here as they strip more and more powers for the Scottish Parliament.
It's going to happen here.
And they're talking about already getting rid of Scots law by 2027.
Yeah.
That discussion's been going on in the Lords for a while now. To create something called UK law.
Yeah.
Even though Scots law is protected under the Treaty of Union.
Yeah.
And the articles, believe it or not, treaty and articles.
Yes.
And we've already seen moves by the Church of England to move in on the Church of Scotland.
I do find that one. You know, here's Marcus Welby. we'll take the service this morning.
I mean, you've got to remember the move to take where the Church of Scotland started under Thatcher.
Yeah.
When she showed up at the Senate.
Yeah.
Oh, the annual meeting of the bigwigs.
Yeah.
Thatcher was invited along, and now we've got the Prince of Wales on that bloody Senate. Creeping Anglicisation's been going on for a while now.
I remember, this is a personal memory, I remember attending a protest.
Let me address this one, because this one's a cracker.
Sorry, David.
Riot time if they deny our law. How much treaty breaking can be accepted? Listen, they broke the treaty millions of times. They've changed the articles millions of times without our permission. They've got a majority down that road. There's only 55 years. At the beginning, there was only 43. Yeah. 59 years, sorry. It's going to 57 under the boundary changes. Yeah. Next election, there will be 57 MPs. I would know that. But for Scotland. But go against the law. We passed a law to hold a referendum. They took it to the Supreme Court and bounced it. Where was the fucking riot? Yeah. They're about to bounce our deposit return scheme, which is where we're going in a minute. Not be any riot.
No, seriously, think about that. When you talk about rioting, where are you going to riot? Are you going to riot in Scotland? No, I don't want you ripping up my country.
And Chris makes another good point about the theft of our assets. There's nothing in the treaty or the articles that say that the Treasury doing that road's got control of them.
Yeah.
Nothing. Nothing in the treaty or articles. Yeah. It's a power they assume themselves.
Yeah. And that
where was the riots when they outlawed their language? Where was the riots when they outlawed our dress?
Yeah. David, also, you've got to figure this thing of assumed power is something that's even happening now, right? And it's like, what we've got to understand is that the only power that they have got is the power that you give them.
Yes.
Remember that. That's really important. I'm not talking about an individual, right? You know, like if I pointed at Jim Bob, right? Jim. It's the power that you give them. No, it's the collective power that the people of Scotland give them. The moment the people of Scotland stop giving them that power, that's it. Their history.
Desiree, there might be something in what you just said there, Desiree, but it's not quite correct. It's not they're going to have to get more sleek it. It's they're going to have to grow a fucking backbone.
Yeah, that's right.
There has to come a point where you stand up and say, listen, feck your Scotland Act. In fact, they have the power to repeal it along that road or change it. And Holyrood.
Yeah.
And sitting in Holyrood right now is a man who has the right to exercise the royal prerogative, which means that he can bypass Charlie and sign any bloody law he wants into Scottish law. There's also the power down that road for the Scottish Grand Committee to bypass Parliament and take laws straight to the Crown to be signed.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that are not being exercised at this point in time.
Yeah.
What we need is politicians with backbone. But
this will be
stoning in the Commons, ripping the piss out of the people of Scotland, England and Wales, and calling it good work by his party. On telly. That particular section went out in the evening news, just so that they could emphasise the ripping the piss out of the people.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, there we rant for you guys.
Anyway, very good, David. What we should have is we should have a blood pressure monitor on your arm whilst you're doing that. We can actually watch you go.
That was nice and campy. Oh, it was the most ungratifying sight I've seen in my life, and the fact that people took it. And I've seen the outrage in our bent, corrupt press this morning.
Oh,
I mean, the headlines should have been right across the board. PM rips piss out of people whose liberties he has been taking away. But that wasn't the headline.
The problem is that by and large, people, I'm now talking England, Scotland, Wales, all the rest of it, right? People are generally pissed off with politicians and politics.
Did you see Alistair Jack in the Commons Committee the other day, the Scottish Committee?
Yeah.
Trying to justify no allowing Scottish ministers to talk about independence with other countries. And his example of why Scottish ministers should not be permitted to speak to other countries about Scottish independence is the same reason they shouldn't be allowed to talk to other countries about removing Trident from Scotland. It's a reserved matter, end of story. And the wee chair, the SNP chair of the Scottish Select Committee, went like, I'm assuming you've spoken about this with a Foreign Secretary, Mr. Jack. He says, I'm not telling you about it. So suck it up, buttercups. Now he's in front of that committee to explain himself.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not telling you, fuck off.
Yeah.
Surely that should see him in contempt of Parliament in front of the and then in front of the Parliamentary Standards Committee. Because that is him in contempt of Parliament. That's when the committees are for. That's when the actual work is done in the committees.
Isn't it just the case that he'll continue doing it until somebody stops him?
So that Parliament along the road there gets some balls on it and uses the royal prerogative to sack the office of Secretary of State for Scotland.
Yeah. We should have had it closed way back before Alistair Carmichael, was it? Had it? And who's the other guy that had it? He went. That was it. Yeah. And he admitted, he said the position of the Scottish office should have been, but the moment we had a devolved Parliament, it should have gone.
Yeah, but they needed that Scotland office to sit above it. Why? Because then you'd have two parliaments of equal, and that could have caused the rights douche.
Yeah.
And it should be causing a rights douche because the Scotland office should be getting ignored. In fact, it's where you should be using things like the royal prerogative. You should just be passing the bill along that road, and soon Humza should be jumping onto a plane and getting right down to the palace and saying to him, sign it. If you don't sign it, we'll fuck you off the throne of Scotland.
Yeah. Referendum time. We can do a referendum on that, definitely.
We keep talking about right, there's two of them.
Yeah.
There's the one that allows us to remove a monarch and replace them with something that suits us better.
Yeah.
And the one that allows us to change a government and the full method of administration. 1689, 1989.
Yeah.
They're two different acts.
Yeah.
But the one that could be used here, because the First Minister of Scotland can use the royal prerogative, then the one that should be used here is the 1689 one, and just warn the faker. Sign this bill or you're off the throne.
You know, the meeting should be, how you doing, Big Ears, King Charles, whatever, right? You're not going to like what I'm going to say here.
The next one was going to be how Labour helped the Tories overturn the imposition, the imposing of anti-strike laws in Scotland and Wales, but I think we've already covered it.
Yeah, well, some point, crack on.
But
we're getting to the point we're running out of time to have cover the rest of the items that we've got.
Right, so next one, deposit return scheme. Now, it looks as if Jack's about to veto it. It looks as if they're not going to give an exemption to the Internal Market Act. We knew that was coming anyway. But what's more important is now we're hearing that these businesses, because it's a business-led initiative, these businesses who have spent a lot of money getting themselves ready for this are now going to be out of pocket for nothing.
Present your bill to the Rishi Sunak and see if you'll
pay it. The bill's already passed.
Yeah, well, it's right.
What's really going to happen here is just turn around and say, fuck it.
Yeah.
And all these businesses who have spent all that money, just tell them, by the way, it goes ahead on time.
Right, okay. I understand where you're coming from there. I really, really do. But I'll tell you what, there'll be a load of businesses go, well, we can't because it's going to be deemed as illegal.
It's not deemed as illegal here in Scotland. It just means that they'll have to have different rules for England until they catch up.
Appreciate that.
I mean, they do intend to catch up In 2 years' time, apparently. But it'll be a bit like the shite in the water down there. It'll be kicked into the long grass, the long grass, the long grass, the long grass.
I don't want to be seen as a bad guy here, but to be honest with you, it's like I can see that it is going to be blocked. And yet again, it's going to be the power that we give them that causes the problem. It's not a case of if the Scottish Parliament stood up and said, stuff it, we're doing it anyway, right? Then it would be down to the people to make the judgment as to who do we follow here? Do we follow the UK government, Westminster, or do we follow the Scottish government?
This is the one that's the best. So some businesses that have spent the money already, they'll carry on because they've spent the money and they're ready.
Yeah, okay.
Other businesses that are not quite ready, they'll bloody well follow the UK.
You get what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying, David? It's the practical.
What you say is here. When you were asked about who do we follow the law of, the law in Scotland's been passed. It's in place.
Yeah.
It's already had royal assent. What we're going to do is jiggity wokery Westminster.
Hold it. Even though it's had a royal assent, right? The Westminster have the power to remove that law. They can rewrite laws in their own place, never mind laws passed by the Scottish government.
But they don't even have to rewrite it. You just use Section 35 to veto it.
Correct.
You see, Section 35, Section 30 should never have existed. But that's what happens when the people of Scotland are not consulted. We were consulted on what we want the Parliament, but we didn't have a fucking say on what the Parliament could and couldn't do. That was decided for us by a Labour majority in England.
No, but it's well nigh possible that the people at that time, back in 1998, wouldn't have been aware of that, wouldn't have seen that. They wouldn't have seen the situation coming down the line where Section 35 could possibly be used. It would have been ignored, quite rightly so. We would never use that. And the question would be by certain people of, why have it in there then, right? Bigger thing.
In there in the first place.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, see when the Scotland Act was written, this has been put to the people who says, is this what you voted for? I would have said, no, that's not what we voted for, send it back. This is what we voted for, and tell them exactly what it was we voted for.
Yeah. Okay.
And what we actually voted for was Home Rule. And anybody that doesn't know what Home Rule is, it's nothing except for foreign policy and defence. That means control all your assets, all your taxes, everything except for foreign policy and defence.
Effectively, everything that wasn't reserved was given to the devolved Parliament. And that's why they made a mistake and gave us part of of the Antarctic as well.
Yep.
Because it wasn't reserved.
Yep. Now, what's interesting about the deposit return scheme is these businesses are now talking about suing the Scottish Parliament.
Uh-huh.
In which case, then the Scottish Parliament better sue the Westminster Treasury.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's actually the Internal Market Act and belligerence for Westminster that's stopping this from going ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
Pure belligerence. You can't be different from us because we're not ready to be different as well.
But there are loads of things that were different from Westminster anyway. You know, it's like you could say, well, what about bridge tolls?
But that's what the Internal Market Act's designed for, David, to make sure that everything balances up the same across the UK. So you will find tuition fees will arrive back in Scotland.
Yeah.
You will find that prescription fees will arrive back in Scotland.
Yeah.
You will find that bridge tolls and road tolls will arrive in Scotland.
And it's up to us, and I'm talking about the big us, right, to make sure that they don't do that. Eh?
Desiree, yes, the Scots do need a channel to be heard, but we don't have one. We're in a minority in Westminster, and Westminster has overall control of Holyrood.
It's up to you guys to make sure that if you want to hear this stuff put out across all the different mobile phones and all the rest of it, get it shared. Something like that, you know. Right, so what's next? What's next now?
Hey. New Assisted Dying Act about to hit the floor in the Scottish Parliament.
Well, each time I go to the doctor, I go, look, can you open your bottom drawer? You've got the euthanasia kit down there, and just let me give me an injection because I'm sick of being in pain.
Wait, Anyway, there's a new Assisted Dying Act about Hertford of Holyrood. Now, last time round, when Margot put the Assisted Dying Act through, there was very little support. There was only 35 MSPs voted in favour.
That means that those MSPs are taking a decision for the people, and that's wrong. And as far as I'm concerned, an assisted dying referendum would be a good move because A, it would get the ballot boxes out the cupboards and give them a good dust, which we'll need in a wee while anyway, right? It would allow the people to make a decision. And I assure you, there are a lot of people that will have watched loved ones dying a very, very painful death, and others that have gone to Dignitas in Switzerland that they had to pay for, right? To go and have assisted dying. Other situations we've had where family members have actually helped them and they ended up, okay, I don't think anybody's ever been actually sent to jail for it, but it does put you in a really, really stupid situation. And what you're trying to do is help somebody that you love.
Well, now, when it comes to the people in Holyrood making that, well, we vote them into place to make decisions like that. But with something like this, David, I agree, it's something we should take to the people.
Yes.
Definitely. And that's the reason why we can't take it to people. That's what the Referenda Scotland Act was for.
Yeah.
And when we start using that act, and it becomes a precedent in law that we ask the people for their opinion on things, then when it comes back around to this question of independence again, the Supreme Court can go fucking rattle itself.
Yeah. We haven't used it. So it's time we did sort of get the oil it and get it out of the box and
make sure it works properly. Make sure it works properly. It should be dragged out of the box. It should be a referendum on this issue.
Yeah.
In fact, there's only 5 million, over 4 million of voting age. There should be at least 2 referenda a year on big issues.
Well, look at Switzerland. They've got a referendum every couple of months or every month.
We generally have at least 2 a year anyway on the big issues.
Yeah.
And we should be doing the same.
Yep.
On the very big issues where politicians can't agree, you take it to the people. Mm-hmm. Simple as that.
And the SNP and Green setup we've got in Holyrood should not be scared to put such a thing to the people, because in actual fact, if they put it to the people, then they're listening to the people. They're saying, we want to hear what you say about it, not what we want, what you want.
As you know, David, they get rid of that with things called public consultation. As you know, every now and again I'll take part in these consultations, and I'll sometimes use one of your groups as a pressure point, because you can use a group of 5,000 people easier than you can make your own voice heard.
Yeah.
So I'll take something that one of your groups will be interested in and discussing.
Yeah.
And I'll weigh up what the threads are saying and which side it's on. And I'll say, well, I'll take part in the public petition and vote on behalf of these people discussing this issue.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you know yourself, David, in the past I've put it out in the groups that I'm going to use a group name.
Yeah. That is all well and good. But in this one situation, I've got to say this one situation now, the assisted dying legislation should be used, the referendum legislation that we have in place should be used for this question of assisted dying.
Desiree, you're right. No, everybody does know about the public consultations. That's why you have to use your search engine. That's why you have to go on the Scottish Government website. And a lot of people don't do that because they're not that interested. But
that is probably one of the greatest arguments for having a referendum, because all of a sudden everybody's got to talk. Well, what do you think about it? Well, I don't know. Over the weekend, that's
one of the other reasons why we don't know much about public consultations is we have a corrupt media that are not informing us of the subject that's being debated in the Parliament. They're not informing us of public consultations on issues. So it's one of these.
The media in Scotland should be putting a double-decker bus, and they should get a one-way ticket down to England and told, no, you're not allowed to mention Scotland ever again in your lives.
Anyway, on that last vote on assisted dying, believe it or not, it was actually the Labour Party who had the most members vote in favour. Believe it or not. The SNP was second on 11 MPs, MSPs. The Tories only 3, the Lib Dems only 1.
I remember Margot stood up in the Scottish Parliament, and she was dying. She knew she was on her way out, right? And she was trying to get the point across and say, look, guys, you need to be getting this in place. And would they listen? No, they wouldn't. To a giant like Margot MacDonald, that was ridiculous.
I mean, Desiree's making another good point. Referendum, easy way to deal with it, but it's got to be an educated discussion. But what you do is you do it with Swiss tea. You say, right, we're going to have a referendum on this in 4 months down the line.
Yeah.
That's the 16 weeks it takes to set up the referendum. And you have a public discussion across that 16 weeks before people go to polls.
Right.
If you have your own media, like they do in most countries, then of course there'd be the big topic on that media.
The BBC would have to do their bloody job, which is actually allowing the people to have a discussion on something proper,
As I say, I mean, if we were to go about having referenda on these big issues that where politicians can't make their mind up on, then it would focus the mind of our media on it as well. They would leave no room for a Westminster narrative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right, anyway, that's the new assisted dying bill about to hit the flare of the Parliament, and the chances of it making through the Parliament are slim to bugger all. Because going by the last time out, when Margot was putting the bill through, only 35 MSPs out of the 129 were in favour.
It's a ridiculous situation. Those MSPs should not have had, in that situation, that kind of power. It should have gone right through, as a referendum.
Now, as we stay in Scotland, because people have been complaining when we talk about Scottish issues enough, because, basically big decisions are being taken out with Scotland. That's the whole point of being a devolved administration. You don't get a say in the big decisions. So it's normally pish that's being bounced about in our politics. But if you really want to go into Scottish politics, we could probably do a Monday show on Scottish politics, Thursday show on the rest of the stuff.
Hang on a second. It's like, you're not supposed to use the word pished.
Oh, I know. Never mind that mob down that road. So, anyway, but this one's a sore one for the SNP. And I am going to criticise the SNP, and I have done over the years, even though people think that you and I are a pair of accolades for them. We're members, we're no accolades, we don't agree with them and everything. But this one's a real embarrassment for the party, and I understand why it's an embarrassment for the party. Right? Now, the SNP delegation in North Lanarkshire Council, 8 members resigned from the SNP and have now formed a party called Progressive Change for North Lanarkshire. They quit the SNP.
This is specifically a new party for local government. Am I right?
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Now, this is a particularly embarrassing for the SNP because, and I understand what the problem is. And I don't understand why the party's not getting a grip of this, because we've been speaking about this for years in the party. I mean, the branch network needed to be expanded massively, didn't happen. And the headquarters needed to be expanded massively to be able to handle the amount of public officials we now have. We have over 400 councillors, and they can't get any help from HQ. Tommy, Christ, can't make Tommy's second. Anyway, Tommy, he quit as an SNP councillor. He's now sitting as an independent because he couldn't get legal advice on a planning matter for 3 years. We've just had the Coyle family and Airdrie. Michael walked to Flair to Labour. His daughter now sits as an independent. This is a bloody embarrassment to the SNP. The branch network's not working. Democracy in the party's broke down. And the HQ isn't functioning the way it should bloody function. Where is the local council department to deal with local council problems? Where is the department that deals with MSPs? Where is the department that deals with MPs? They're all separate departments, they all need their own legal representation.
And what seems to be the worst of it is none of those departments are talking to each other.
No, they're not. But what's more importantly is, we've been talking about this since it went from a minor party to a mass membership party.
Yeah.
And that is the branch network needed to modify. We wanted to open a Shorts branch because of the size of the Airdrie and Shorts branch now. Because you need a football stadium to get them all in.
Yeah, we have
branch off.
yeah, we have people running the party effectively that you're saying are running it as if it's got 10,000 members. Am I right?
They're running it like it's 10,000 members. They haven't expanded it.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, and it has to be expanded. But you and I have been banging on about the branch network for years.
Yeah.
So let's hope Hooms is listening and can get a grip of this. They're probably going to have to hire a lot more people along that HQ. The party's probably going to have to use the legal representation that the legal brains have got in the party to work in departments for the party.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got lawyers who are MSPs.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have lawyers who are councillors.
Mm-hmm.
We've got lawyers who are MPs. Let them sort out legal problems in each of them, and give them a title, put them in the HQ. Now, when it comes to branches, branches should not be allowed to have any more than 300 or 400 members. It's unmanageable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you take the Airdrie branch, Airdrie and Shotts branch, Hackney's broken into more than just Airdrie and Shotts because there's 1,200 members.
Yeah.
You know, it's nuts. But we wanted to open a Shotts branch, which was attain about 400 of that membership across.
Yeah. And
the party, the branch, and Airdrie didn't fancy it. Which was madness. Because Shotts was predominantly pro-UK area, and we swung it to pro-independence prior to the referendum. No, Shotts voted yes. Who would have thought? No. And that was down to good work by the good people in Shotts. Mm-hmm. And all they wanted to do was set up a branch to hold that membership. Mm-hmm. And to keep the people on side.
Yeah.
What happened the next council election? Oh, back to Labour.
Well, you think about it, 300 or 400 members in a branch. There's a town hall. You've got a town hall. That's it. You've got maybe a typical town hall that we've got in Incline Bank. 200, 250 people you can pull into that town hall.
Don't get me wrong. To be fair, the pandemic did slow that sort of thing down.
Yeah, I know.
And then, even then, you had to have multiple branch meetings because you only had 30 people into a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
You know, so you need to do the same thing 3, 4, 5 times in a week to get everybody to put their point of view.
Yeah, I know we had a wee discussion about this, but looking at it from a public point of view, the pandemic's over because the WHO said it's over.
Aye, it is now, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so the SNP in North Lanarkshire is in genuine meltdown.
Yeah.
Out of all the SNP councillors were voted in the last couple of elections, we've lost 10.
Yeah.
10 have gone. 11 actually, because the SNP leader in North Lanarkshire, who apparently kissed some wee lassie against her will when he was pushed at 19, and so there was a sex scandal about him. A guy's in his 30s now with a family, I think. Anyway, he stepped down and there's going to be a by-election. Right, let's move on. But the SNP really do need to get a grip of the branch network. They really do. And they really need to get a proper division set up to deal with councillors' needs.
But that is a situation that requires a direct input by Humza Yusuf as the leader to actually sort it out.
I also need somebody with brains along here to think of these things.
I know that, appreciate that, but you've got to understand there's a ring of steel that's round about them, and we've still got the same minds allowing stuff across that ring of steel. And so some of these people need pulling out of the way.
Gillian, I think you have been hacked because you're not sending me video links for somebody that just died and you think I know them. So Gillian, I think you've been hacked.
Yeah.
Right, anyway, let's move on because time's running tight, David.
Yes.
Right, outgoing police chief says Police Scotland institutionally racist.
Yeah, well, it's been run on Sky and all the rest of it all morning. And basically what they're doing is they're running it as if, oh, here, oh, look at that. Look what the Chief Constable has said about Police Scotland. You know, and they're all worried about the Met that is actually, that, you know, they've got a large number of rapists and all the rest of it that work for them. Whereas this guy This guy was making a statement which was fantastic. He actually made a statement without provocation. He wasn't forced to do it. He hasn't been under attack because of it, right? And he effectively said, here's the standard that we need to be getting to. And this is my statement to say that we're institutionally racist, misogynistic, and the effectively is a wrong place for us to be, and we need to be moving uphill to higher standards. And the deputy police constable has also said that it affects the police individually, and we will change the canteen culture, where certain police are asked, "Well, why did you do that? Why did you act in that particular way?" Oh, it was just a joke. Oh, it was banter. No, guys, no, girls, that's not on. You have got to go to a higher standard. I salute the guy for what he said, because they are the thin blue line, and for as long as we've got good people at the top that are actually coming out with statements like that will cost us politically, however, they are the right statements to make in order that the police does get to those higher standards.
Well, let's caveat that. It's an easy thing for him to say, because he's not going to have to try and achieve it, is he?
Yeah,
he's
but
down in the summer.
In actual fact, you imagine somebody in that situation, they're getting to the point they're going to retire. Effectively, what he's done is he's blooming shot his blooming career in the foot, where people look back, they won't remember him and all the good stuff he did. They'll remember what he said about the police being institutionally racist and all the rest of it.
Well, like you write yourself into history then, eh? Yeah, preside over an institutionally racist and misogynist organisation.
The guy's done the right thing, and I believe that our police will take up the challenge to make the police not institutionally racist. If something is institutionally racist or misogynistic, that comes down from law, from acts, bills, whatever, right? Also, it comes from operational guidance for the individual copper, where they've got to act in a particular way in a particular instance, right?
Yeah.
All of that can be changed. All that can be altered to make it less misogynistic, less racist, whatever, discriminatory. But also, you can work to get inside the head of the individual Bobby and go, look, no, you don't behave in that way. It's not banter. It's not a joke. You guys are held to the best standard in the United Kingdom.
Training colleges, if you ask me, David.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on, because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
Commons to vote on banning Margaret Ferrier from Commons for 30 days for getting on a train with COVID. A train that was probably empty because it was the middle of a lockdown.
Who else are they banning?
Nobody.
What? So it's just Margaret Ferrier?
Just Margaret Ferrier at this point, like.
And this is the Common Standards
Liaison Committee, aye.
Liaison Committee. So
the Common Standards Committee, that's right, aye.
Haven't they found against other MPs?
Well, they're investigating Boris Johnson now, but they're found against other MPs for various things, aye.
So are they going to be banned from the House of Commons?
Well, not for 30 days that I've seen anyway. I mean, they're talking about banning Bojo for 10.
So who did Margaret Ferrier kill?
Nobody. She got on a train which was probably empty in the middle of a lockdown when home because she was nowhere.
Right, okay. So
bad thing to do, still a thing to do. But on that train, in the middle of a lockdown, there was probably maybe only 3 or 4 people in the carriage, if that.
Okay.
But you take Bojo and his parties, for instance, 50, 60, 100 people gather,
yes,
and then go into the community.
Mm-hmm.
Margaret got on a probably empty train, got to Glasgow, went straight home, and locked herself away.
Yeah.
The chances that Margaret did any damage to the public were slim to fake all.
So is this another case of it's one rule, one standard for somebody that's SNP, and another set of standards for everybody else that isn't SNP? Are we right?
About the Tory MP, I can't remember his name, I didn't go back and look the story up, I reported it on at the time. Tory MP did the same thing, went to the West Country with COVID on a train. Nothing, no police inquiry, no nothing.
And what about Prince Charles at the time?
Before we get into the potential by-election in a minute, the 30 days didn't actually trigger a by-election. What it does is it allows a recall petition, and it's up to somebody to start that recall petition, and then get 10,000 constituents to sign it. And in this case, Labour and the SNP may well start that petition.
Yeah.
But it could well be that constituents look at it and go, "We're only 14 months for a general election. What's the point?"
Yeah.
You know?
However, if they've got a pre-written form, if you like, put in front of them, right? Here, if you disagree with Margaret Ferrier, which you did, just sign there.
But the thing is,
I can see the Labour activists in Rutherglen, certainly, right, doing something like that, because they did the same during the blooming run-up to the referendum, telling old age pensioners they would lose their blooming pensions and they would never vote again for independence.
The SNP might want this by-election as much as the next, because the election coming and it would be a measure of how things are in Scotland. It would be a microcosm. If Labour take it, remember, it's been a swing seat. Margaret had the seat, lost it, Margaret got the seat back.
Yeah.
No. And it's been roughly a 2,000 swing each time.
Yeah.
So, but, and so the SNP might well want it. Now, how this works, folks, when you get over a 10-day suspension to the Parliament, then the local election officer is contacted to say that she's going to open up for the potential for somebody to want to raise a recall petition.
Mm-hmm.
So the Commons notifies the local election officer that a recall petition could now be issued.
Yeah.
Or it might well be that somebody comes along with and asks for a recall petition. And then, of course, 10,000 signatures are going to be collected.
Yeah.
And as I say, they're this close to an election. And as far as I know, Margaret's quite a good constituency MP and quite popular. So I don't know whether that would happen.
Now, the last time such a thing was done recently, as I remember, was the Conservative MP. Yeah, that's right. And effectively, that was for a much more difficult issue, as I remember. Yeah. So
let's look at we're just weighing up what Mrs. Ferrier actually did compared to what Bojo and Sunak and all the party goers did. You know,
it's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. I don't agree with what she did, but at the same time, I think there is going to be a degree of poetic justice that takes place in this.
Apparently the vote to suspend her from Parliament has been called off. Margaret Kay's just seen that in the comments. So there goes that section of the Monday.
Do you think that's the Tories protecting themselves?
Probably.
If they're going to bring back hanging for that, oh dear, maybe a few years they're going to get hung, you know.
Right, we're going to skip Audit Scotland and the court backlogs because we don't have time.
Yep.
We're going to talk about this one, but the latest clampdown on immigration affects the education sector.
Yep.
And Tories introduced. So what this bit's all about is clamping down on student visas.
Yes.
Right.
And work visas. And work visas as well.
And student work visas. What people don't understand, because they probably won't know this, years ago the Tories introduced a law that says foreign students can work here.
Yeah.
But employers are entitled to pay them 20% less than what they pay a UK-based student.
Yes.
Right. But the other thing is they're clamping down on being able to bring their dependents with them, their families and dependents with them.
Yeah.
Which they used to be able to do, and their families and dependents could help in the labour force. They could work here. But they were also no, actually, I don't think their dependents were hammered with a 20% reduction in pay. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, Yvette Cooper put up a good argument, as far as I'm concerned, regarding this very topic. You've got engineers in the UK, right, who are they're in a scrap with people that are coming from abroad that are getting paid 20% less because they've come from abroad. It's simple as that, you know. And if you take an engineer's typical wage in the UK, if you average the whole thing out, it's about 45 to 48,000 thereabouts, right? Job and engineer. We're not talking like the top engineer. We're talking like middle job
engineer, aye.
But so in other words, the employers are getting to buy those engineers from abroad for 10 grand less. Simple as that. That's where it comes down to. You know, I'm an engineer. I live in the UK, and I would like if the thing was balanced out. I don't mind somebody coming from abroad. For goodness sake, don't have me in a situation where I'm competing against them for that, and I'm going to put my wages down. You know.
Right.
So there you
but
go.
The other thing that came along with that and what brought this subject up was immigration figures are out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how many was it that came in?
It was 1.1 million came in, 500 and odd went out, which left us with 606,000 people. That was a figure. That was the balance figure, if you like.
Aye. So basically, we had 557,000 people bigger off out the UK for a better life, better work standards, better everything. We had basically 1.1 million come in. And
so you looked up where they went to. Come on, David, tell us where those.
I don't know where they went to, but I've shut the box down. But most of them went to non-EU countries. Most of them went to New Zealand, to Australia, to Canada, and to America.
Yeah.
All right. So there you go. And then after that, it was the EU.
Yeah.
And most of them that went to EU are young professionals, bankers, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Who were coaxed away after Brexit.
And nurses and young doctors. I'll bet you. You know, I bet you if you drill down at that, you'd actually see a good number of young nurses and young doctors thinking, "Oh, Australia looks all right."
Now, I was going to talk about the pay offer for the junior doctors here, but I think we covered it on Monday.
Yeah.
Anyway, because we're running out of time, it's our time, but we're going to cover this last one. It is inflation.
Yeah.
Inflation dropped a little, but not a lot. But it's getting nearly 8%. I've said it would be, and that's where it would stick. So, I don't know, maybe Davy's prediction is going to be wrong after all.
Jeremy Hunt entirely gerrymandered the 0.1% coming off inflation so that you could stand there with a big bloody smile on his face and say, "Oh, it's dropped," right? "Oh, but we've still got to do hard work here, but it's dropped."
Yep.
If you're the Chancellor of the Exchequer, there are so many buttons that you can press that will cause things to change. A 0.1% drop in inflation when you're up at over 11%, and we're talking like eggs, cheese, and milk at 29% inflation throughout the United Kingdom, 18% on bread, right?
Yes.
These are the staples. So therefore, you know, for that guy to press a button and for it to go down by 0.1%.
I can actually tell you exactly how it varies, David. They're saying that the headline rate was 8.7. It's about 10 actually, right? The headline rate. But I mean, if food and alcohol.
Remember, inflation is a personal number.
Of course it is. Now, let me run through how it affects other people. Let me run through how it affects people differently, right? Food and non-alcoholic beverages up by are now sitting at 19.1%. Where the both. That's inflation on that, right? Alcohol and tobacco, inflation's at 9.1%. Yep. Clothing and footwear, inflation's at 6.8%. That's in the latest figures.
Yep.
Housing and household services, inflation on them is sitting at 7.3%. Yep. Of which we know that homeowner costs has been up by 4% because of interest rate rises. Mm-hmm. Furniture and household goods, inflation on that stuff's running at 7.5%. Believe it or not, in England and Wales, and to a lesser degree here in Scotland, health inflation is at 7.2%. But that's on the individual, that's not on the organisation, David. I could remember this is how it affects individuals. Right? Transport inflation is at 1.6%. I find that hard to believe. Communication inflation, meaning your telephone bills, your internet, and all that's gone up by 7.8%. Recreation and culture, so a wee day out in the park and at the cinema or something like that's up 6.4%. Inflation in education is under 3.2%. Restaurants and hotels at 10.2%. And miscellaneous goods and services at 6.8%. Overall, they're saying that the general inflation effect on people is 10% still, even though the headline rate's at 8.7%. So there's all the for you.
I think the people, depending on your buying, your likes and dislikes, or your lifestyle, if you've got a car, if you've got whatever, right? It's like inflation is just, it affects every single one of us differently.
Yes.
And unless we get to a situation where the prices actually come down, it's no point in just reducing inflation. If inflation was to come down by generally across the board by even 10%, right? Your prices are still going up. This is what people generally don't get their heads around, is if the prices are still going up, you're still hurting.
The thing about inflation is it's not that prices stop going up, it's just they stop going up by so much. They continue to rise, but they just rise by the headline rate of inflation on that particular item. Like you just said, dairy products 28%.
29.
So let's say that comes down in the next few while and it comes down to 20%. It just means the price of your block of butter has only went up 20% that month, or that year. No, or for that particular quarter. I mean, people go to understand exactly what it is inflation does.
Right, inflation's meant to happen, right? But it's supposed to be about 1 or 2%, right? If it goes over 2%, the old rule is that the Bank of England have to write to the Prime Minister and explain to him that it is going to go above 2%, and here's the what they're going to do to try and stop it, right?
Well, actually, the Bank of England's a bad place to try and stop it. If you want to stop it, you do it in the Treasury.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the Bank of England have got one single hammer they can use to hit that particular nail, and that's interest rates. And interest rates.
Watch the government manipulate the inflation rates here through using blockchain. And regulating the and making sure that the cap on electricity didn't go up, it come down.
Yeah,
that's how Jeremy Hunt managed to wriggle this drop in inflation.
Well, the cap coming down, what does that actually mean to Mrs. McGlumfer at the street? Nothing. Because let's say the cap was 3,500. My wife asked me this morning, listening to the TV, and she was getting ready to go out. She said, "What does that actually mean, the cap?" And I explained to her, it means nothing. It is an indication of average use. Well, I reckon the house that they've set up to work out average use has got no electrical implements in it, and it has one 15-watt pygmy bulb, and that's it, right?
Because you and I have got average use, if you like, and I'm over $4,000 a year. I don't know what you are. 7. Wow. And okay. You and I have the same size.
I've got a dispute with the energy company saying that my meter is wrong. There is something wrong with it. It's maybe been badly calibrated before it was brought into. If it was calibrated, you know, the story that we hear from the European Union was that a few of the universities across there took up the cross for people that had smart meters, same smart meters that we use, and these people were saying, "No, this is wrong. I'm being vastly overcharged." And that's wrong, you know.
Well, anyway, you see, people have to understand that prices are not coming down; they're just going up less. They're going up a wee bit slower. That's all.
Yeah.
And that's what inflation does, you know. And this idea that the electricity price cap dropped from 2,500 to 2,100, what a lot of crap.
Yeah, means nothing.
Absolutely.
It's not. My wife actually said this morning. So that means the maximum they can charge me is £2,500. I said, well, you know that's not the case because you're paying more anyway. You know. So anyway, right. Okay. Do you want me to do the wind up?
I did a wind up. We should have the walk to go to in exactly 50 minutes, and I've still got a certain big hairy bugger that wants to go for a walk first.
Okay, guys, I'll do this as quick as I can. If you like this, click the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you are going to share from Facebook, then please give David about 3 or 4 minutes just after the end of the broadcast in order to make it public, so that you can actually send a public video across, right? Yet again, I will say again, if you liked us, we are the Two Davies. If you didn't like us, we're Rishi Sunak's Appreciation Society.
Right, I just went one thing.
And that is, bye, Davey.
Bye, Davey. Bye, folks.
Bye, guys.